Hello, this is going to be a really quick video on what to do if you have some really loose caps. So sometimes if a cap falls off really easily during solves, it's usually because the tolerances between the centerpiece itself and the cap is a little bit off. So what happens is, let's say the centerpiece is slightly smaller, or the centerpiece is slightly larger and the cap is slightly smaller, or whatever. It could just fall off because there's not enough friction. There's a couple of ways to resolve this. My personal favorite is using super glue, but you could also use a piece of paper as well. So in order to kind of keep a cap from falling off using a piece of paper, all you really have to do is tear off a very small strip of it and try to identify where the friction points happen between the cap and the centerpiece. So here we have this circular part right here, and that hugs around the circular column area of this centerpiece. Now your mileage may vary depending on the cube, but sometimes you can just get away with kind of wrapping this around this column area right here. And what you're doing here is giving it a little bit more material for this center cap to kind of pinch around it. So what we want to do is put that in between the column, put that piece of paper between the column and the cap and the little peg, and we're just going to give it a nice firm push down like that, and that is not going to go anywhere anytime soon. And you might have to try it out later with something else. Personally, I much prefer using some super glue for a less papery fix. And how that will work is you can go ahead and just take your super glue here, and we're going to apply a little bit around the edges of the centerpiece. This works especially well if you don't have this large center column part right here. So I'm going to take my super glue. I'm going to go ahead and apply a little bit of super glue like that. And what we want to do here is actually spread it around. We only really want a very thin layer of super glue around this cap. And we want to make sure that we don't get it on the surface of the puzzle, because that's going to leave some residue and that's not going to look good at all. So I'm just going to go ahead and wipe this super glue around like this. Like so. And we're just going to actually let that dry completely. And what this does is it provides a little bit more material for the center cap to kind of grip, or the centerpiece to grip onto once the center cap is on. And the reason we want to let it dry completely is we don't want to permanently seal up the center piece. So we're just going to wait for this to kind of dry up a little bit and figure it out from there. Again, just a very, very thin layer will do. And what you're doing is you're just closing up any type of small space between the center cap and the center piece. So here it's kind of dry now, it's not really sticking anymore, and we could just go ahead and replace that on there. Gives it some more material to bite onto, and that'll stay on there. But make sure that that piece is absolutely 100% dry, or else you're going to be permanently stuck with a cap on there. So a couple of methods: you can use a piece of paper, you can use super glue. I prefer super glue because I don't want paper inside of my puzzle. And that's how you would resolve caps falling off most 3x3s.